On Valentine's Day, there was a national security announcement. It was on social media. It was actually trending on X. And they announced there was this national security emergency, but they didn't tell you what it was right away. And so instantly I saw people start to freak out. And I'm like, man, watch they try to make this a Russia thing. And I was right. But first, let's go to that announcement that kind of like made people, squint a little bit.
Shortly before you came out, Congressman Mike Turner issued a statement saying that President Biden should declassify intelligence related to a, quote, serious national security threat. What can you say about the threat and what the administration plans to do?
So first, I reached out earlier this week to the Gang of Eight to offer myself up for a personal briefing to the Gang of Eight. And in fact, we scheduled a briefing for the 4 House members of the Gang of Eight tomorrow. That's been on the books. So I am a bit surprised that Congressman Turner came out publicly today in advance of a meeting on the books for me to go sit with him alongside our intelligence and defense professionals tomorrow. That's his choice to do that. All I can tell you is that I'm focused on going to see him, sit with him, as well as the other House members of the Gang of Eight tomorrow. And I'm not in a position to say anything further from this podium at this time, other than to make the broad point that this administration has gone further and in more creative, more strategic ways dealt with the declassification of intelligence in the national interest of the United States than any administration in history. So you definitely are not going to find an unwillingness to do that when it's in our national security interest to do so. At the same time, we of course have to continue to prioritize and focus very much on the issue of sources and methods. We'll do that. Ultimately, these are decisions for the president to make. But in the meantime, the most important thing is we have the opportunity to sit in a classified setting and have the kind of conversation with the House intelligence leadership that I, in fact, had scheduled before Congressman Turner went out today. Yeah.
So here's the thing. When you hold a press conference and you announce that there is a national security threat, but you don't tell people what the threat is, I don't feel that's the best way to relay a message. So then you have people worrying. I figured they would try to connect this to Russia. Then you have people worrying or freaking out like, whoa, what's happening here? Present more information, which at the time they had more information. I guess he just wasn't allowed to release it.
But just to be clear, Turner calls this an urgent matter with regard to a destabilizing foreign military capability. Are you aware that there is an emerging serious threat here that he's referring to?
Again, I'll just say that I personally reached out to the Gang of Eight. It is highly unusual, in fact, for the National Security Advisor to do that. I did that to set up a meeting. The Senate's not here. The 4 House members have agreed to that meeting. This is well before Congressman Turner came out today. We'll have that conversation tomorrow. I'm not going to say anything further.
Okay. And that's how that ended. Basically, he said he wasn't going to give out any more information. However, later on, there was another reporter that asked the question, could you tell Americans that there's nothing they have to worry about at this point in time? And I want you to hear his response to that.
House Intelligence Chair speaking out about a imminent, or he doesn't say imminent, serious national security threat. The lack of your ability to say anything has the potential to raise distress for some Americans. In the simplest of terms, can you tell Americans that there's nothing they have to worry about right now in terms of what he describes as a national security threat?
Look, I think in a way that question is impossible to answer with a straight yes, right? Because Americans understand that there are a range of threats and challenges in the world that we're dealing with every single day. And those threats and challenges range from terrorism to state actors. And we have to contend with them, and we have to contend with them in a way where we ensure the ultimate security of the American people. I am confident that President Biden, in the decisions that he is taking, is going to ensure the security of the American people going forward.
You shouldn't be confident in the decisions that Joe Biden is making. Joe Biden doesn't even know where he's at half the time.
And I will stand here at this podium and assert that, look you in the eye with confidence, that we believe that we can and will and are protecting the national security of the United States and the American people.
Perfect. Thank you for your answer.
So to answer that question, basically he said he couldn't honestly tell the American people yes or no or not. But this is what it actually came down to, ladies and gentlemen. The GOP warning of a national security threat is about Russia, dun, 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 wanting nuclear weapon in space. Listen to this. So this is what the buzz was all about. President Biden's national security advisor and leading lawmakers on Capitol Hill sought to allay public concerns on Wednesday after the House Intelligence Committee chairman warned of a national security threat related to a destabilizing foreign military capability. So serious that Biden should declassify all information about it. Two sources familiar with deliberations on Capitol Hill said the intelligence has to do with Russia wanting to put a nuclear weapon into space. Now, don't you guys think it's a little bit weird? Just a little bit weird, maybe too convenient, that this announcement is being made after that interview with Vladimir Putin? And it's not just this announcement. There's the announcement that came today about Alexei and Kamala Harris and Blinken. We'll cover this on Sunday. Kamala Harris and Blinken and Joe Biden and everybody saying, you know, Putin killed this guy. They're out there defending someone who's a Nazi sympathizer, but they were silent about Gonzalo Lira because he died in a Ukrainian prison. Don't you think it's a little bit odd? I just find the timing to be suspect. It goes on to say, this would not be to drop a nuclear weapon onto Earth, but rather to possibly use against satellites. Still, it is very concerning and very sensitive, said one source, calling it a big deal. While not addressing the subject directly, multiple members of Congress quickly described the issue as serious without stoking public alarm. We are going to work together to address this matter as we do all sensitive matters that are classified. That's coming from House Speaker Mike Johnson. But we just want to assure everyone steady hands are at the wheel. Steady hands from Biden? Okay. All righty. Representative Jim Himes, a Connecticut Democrat and the ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee, echoed that in his own statement, calling the warning significant but not a cause for panic. As to whether more can be declassified about this issue, that is a worthwhile discussion, but it is not a discussion to be had in public. Earlier on Wednesday, Ohio Republican Representative Mike Turner, the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, said in a statement that his panel had made available to all members of Congress information concerning a serious national security threat. I'm requesting that President Biden declassify all information relating to this threat so that Congress, the administration, and our allies can openly discuss the actions necessary to respond to this threat. So that was the announcement made on Valentine's Day that threw people into a tizzy. And again, like I said, like they were going to find a way. I said, watch, they're going to connect this to Russia. Now, Joe Biden was actually asked about this and he did respond. Thanks to Hotspot here, says Joe Biden in the press teeing up the nuclear threat from Russia. Let's go ahead, and these are two clips here.
Dirty bomb allegations from Russia.
Oh, there you go.
Do you believe that this is the beginning of a false flag operation? Is Russia preparing to deploy a dirty bomb itself or a nuclear weapon?
I spent a lot of time today talking about that. Let me just say, Russia would be making an incredibly serious mistake if we're to use a tactical nuclear weapon. I'm not guaranteeing you that it's a false flag operation yet. Don't know. But it would be a serious, serious mistake.
Okay, and then there's another part to this here.
President Biden, do you have any comment on Russia deploying nuclear weapons into space?
Happy Valentine's Day.
President Biden, is that the classified information Russia consider?
Are you concerned about Russia sending nukes to the space?
Again, I question the timing considering this is happening after that interview was announced. But here's something that's really interesting. You know, as much as they want to demonize Russia, Vladimir Putin made an announcement recently, actually, in this interview about who he would actually want in reference to Biden or Trump, who would be better for Russia. I want you to hear what Vladimir Putin had to say. As much as Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are demonizing him in Russia, listen to this. Who is better for us, Biden or Trump?
Байден или Трамп?
Байден. Он человек более опытный, он прогнозирует.
He said Biden. He is more experienced and more predictable. You guys see that?
Он политик старой формации.
He is an old school politician.
Но мы будем работать с любым лидером США,
but we will work with any U.S. leader who the American people have confidence
которому
in.
окажет доверие американский народ.
Байден или Трамп?
Байден.
So you hear that? Interesting, huh? That Vladimir Putin would rather have Biden. So I have something else that's going to make you laugh a little bit here. At least I think it made me laugh anyway. Phi Capital Investments shared this and said this is probably the reason why he doesn't want Donald Trump. Watch this. This is funny. This is hilarious. So this was a meeting between Trump and Vladimir Putin. So if you watch, pay attention to the way that, you know, when someone's walking up to you, shake their hand, right? So some people have a strong, firm handshake and some people do not, right? But notice Trump kind of pulls him toward, watch. It's kind of funny. You see the pull right here? He pulled. That's why he said, no, I would not want him. There you go. So it's interesting. Like I said, the Biden administration are making all these statements about Vladimir Putin and Russia, but according to Vladimir Putin, he would rather have Joe Biden. Interesting.